Maniga Kaniga Samadhi Jow Tamma Bido Sati Biotovare Sadhu at the view, let me at the view. Sadhu let me bounce a video, Biareka. A day the polare, I am Takana, Secondly, I am Dhamma. Say, chat for second night, jam she venerable, Dhamma say Jani. Shukwe, I am a new ship in Melo. Say Jared, the Maria or Tatare. I was such a needed the Maria or Tatare Senate. Hedro Chini, she did the Maria. Sesse, Pieni Lucia. Sanjaman, you were not the Arigo. Up another Marilu, where the Tainta Nainava, Pesha Nainava. Sikalego level. Near the old car, Tainta Nainava. A yogi atoni at the time. Today, Adoluchi Yona Panchati was a season, young lady Puna. A Dinya Pichi, a Johnny Remha. The Kanata, I almost say chat or a Nizo Jaume. A Dinya, a Nizo Jau. But Tana look over, but that's what I Jaume. Tana's a lot of Tia Jaume. David was Ganalo. Tata Dolushi and do a take a young and jari a chow of the Lusulu Varatama. Too long in a young and jari a top by Joan, she did it for a David Yavaratama. Yeah, and his own Jawaro. Polare, I only the Kanaka Sase Jado, the Kaniga Tamari. The Korea Jojo say Yona Diari as Tilu Luci, Tijin Luci. The Kaniga Tamari, I go look for Vesravali. I go Lae, a Lolo, Messena have a Dila. Somehow do Yatavuda. Pajana Disravali, Samaido, Kaniga Samadi, the Kunat who sets a video Pilato, Tiny Lato, what Tiny Ma Jatabudan, two pite Shire die. Jaune Jo sets a video pite Shire die. Aribo, Mamma Miabon, Siabon, to the water into Shipon Korea. Akara body, Chias of body. At a Yatabuda Koraba. To Peter Shitty died. A she died of Yoja, a she died. Come since I have a dealer of the Mari Kauma, the gay she. Jojo the Yona Diari Dila Mesoro Shizabito Dira Ha a D. Simbo Pool Soluya Yopara. Era Torana no Taina Riga Shizam a deep hita, where Shizam and Bea Dila Mavesure a Suene volley. They are to the command to go a chip bunny of Sito Shizabito Yujare. Since I would do Pogoriaro, no Jarava. Panetula Solochi and Kiyuku Lama body at the Miadu at the Loam Shidu. At two treasure car. Langi Madishi Pogoria, the a woman bitterly now like Starlight, the Gabiola, the Midi Pogoro. Kulangu got so daughter Kulure Krigo, Kulurezi, Mamma Yodare. Sort of my young name, Madama. that the Uma time. Never of it, no time that he had. Key to a common, lucky Jadama. A didia, Miado, a didi, a woman below. Knowledge, silence, a gabular solution, keep in. Bama, the machine of Bogoria, was there a machine of Yogo and Lodo. Golango Sotora. Ramaki of them. So, Buddha knew Jada at time. A nigger. Happy Titone Boko, Mia, happy Jago, Didi Jaja, Lina Lucia, Eddie Boko, Majava. The bad ways of Tujala, Napalo to the Tujala. The Rindo Palo solution of the reality appears on the Limana. The real labor solution of 2 years of zero. Nalalo advertisement, Bovido, Jiji, appeared on him at Edema. The Talalo Atoluma, Baba, Biosam, see the use solution. Kuna Biodro, Kidware Boko, Lucky Jama, a tea a Miani, Eddie a woman below, Sugabiola, Sale, Nales. They keep in as well. They are doing the Yamadilo, a tree called him low. Jetted the lover. What's a wobber? Piece of gibbet, however. I didn't make day low my yard as well.
Yesterday, Sayadawgyi started to speak about Khanika Samadhi, momentary concentration. In terms of the theory, says is one way, the practice is another. And when you combine these two, this is the samadhi which falls time and again on every newly arising object, every second without a break. The mind falls collectedly, and although the objects being observed vary, the samadhi is just the same. It's like it's seamless. The samadhi, the collectedness falling on the object. And when this samadhi is continuous, then, like the samadhi of absorption, appana samadhi, it can control the nivaranas, the dhammas which disturb the mind, so that the mind is calm and peaceful. For practicing yogis, too, it's just like that. And so when samadhi develops, when there is this continuous samadhi, then one comes to know, stage by stage, starting with nama and rupa, one's knowledge starts to arise. The mind falling collectedly on the object is the nearest cause for knowledge to arise. This is called padatana. Padatana is a compound word, and both parts of it mean the same thing. Pada means cause, tana means basis. So, because two words which mean the same thing are combined to make one word, then it means that this cause is the most fundamental cause for knowledge to arise. This samadhi is the most fundamental cause for knowledge to arise. And that means there are other causes which bring knowledge to arise. So the nearest cause is this khanika samadhi, momentary concentration of the mind falling collectedly on the arising object. And if one wants to know how things happen, then all one has to do is develop this khanika samadhi. It said, samahito yata bhutang pajanati. That means that when the mind is collected on the object and calm, and only when, then one will come to see, that is, one will come to know without thinking about it, without reflecting, but know directly. Yatha bhutang, one will know is things as they are, what is as it is. One will know nama and rupa as they are, as they occur, as cause and effect, and also the various aspects or akara that they have. So one will come to know what is as it really is. So one cannot really know about how mind and matter are related as cause and effect just through thinking about it and analyzing. This is not true knowledge. Westerners, because of the way we're trained, tend to think that knowledge comes from reflection and from thinking. And these people who are attached to analysis as a way of knowing, these people are late to develop the practice. And what it's like is two travelers who are both taking the same journey. And they start out at the same time. But one person knows a lot of people who live along the road, and that person stops in at his friend's house and chats and has something to eat and takes a rest. And then he eventually gets on his way. And the person who doesn't know anybody along the journey, he doesn't have any place to stop. So he gets to the destination quickly. So for the most part, the Western yogis are like the traveler who has a lot of friends, stopping and eating and resting and talking. The yogis who have no friends, they have nowhere to stop, and therefore they get to their destination quickly. So one should follow the instructions as the Buddha gave them. And those who follow precisely, it doesn't take them long at all to see special things in the practice. In 1 week, such yogis see special things. In 2 weeks, they see special things. In 3 weeks, that is enough time for the Dhamma to become complete. In 1 month, it goes without saying, that is enough time to develop the practice. And in 2 months, the practice can be developed even more thoroughly. So if in 1 month or so there hasn't been any special knowledge arise, then it means that the yogi is like the traveler who is stopping in to talk with the friends along the journey. So in this meditation practice, there's no place for thinking or reflecting, just to do what is instructed, to observe the arising object with aim and effort.
Ni apyan ati nya ye ani song a chaung ha tamari ga buddhathan ani song chaung phit thalo Satipatthana 4 ပါးဟာလည်းပဲအတိညာဖြစ်ခြင်းအနည်းဆုံးကြောင်းလို့ဒီလိုလည်းပြထားတာရှိပါတယ်Satipatthana 4 ပါးဆိုတာကာယခေါ်တဲ့ရုပ်သဘောတရားတွေပေါ်တိုင်းမပြတ်မလားဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုမှတ်တဲ့ကာယ ानु ပဿနာစတိပဋ္ဌာန်ကောင်းဆိုးအမျိုးမျိုးခံစားမှုတွေပေါ်တိုင်းမပြတ်မလားဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုမှတ်တဲ့ဝေဒနာ ानु ပဿနာစတိပဋ္ဌာန်စိတ်ကူးမျိုးစုံတွေပေါ့လေကောင်းကောင်းဆိုးဆိုးပေါ့လေစိတ်ကူးမျိုးစုံတွေပေါ်တိုင်းမပြတ်မလားဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်တ ानु ပဿနာစတိပဋ္ဌာန်နဲ့သဘောအထွေထွေအမှုရာတွေပေါ်တိုင်းပေါ်လေဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုမှတ်တဲ့ဓမ္မ ानु ပဿနာစတိပဋ္ဌာန်ဒီနည်းအားဖြင့်ကိုယ်ရဲ့စိုက်လက်ငင်းပ ပေါ်တဲ့သဘာဝတရားတွေကိုဖြစ်တုံးဖြစ်စေလေးမှာပေါ့လေအမြဲမပြတ်ဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုမှတ်တဲ့စတိပဋ္ဌာန်နဲ့ရှေးကအထုတဲ့စတိပဋ္ဌာန်တွေဟာနောက်သမာဓိဖြစ်ဖို့ရာအတွက်အနည်းဆုံးအကြောင်းဖြစ်သွားတာပဲအဲ့ဒါမှတော့အကြောင်းစုံသွားတာပေါ့လေစတိပဋ္ဌာန်ဆိုတာအနုပဿနာပါပဲပေါ်တဲ့အာယုံအဖန်ဖန်တတ်တဲ့ဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုတာဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုတယ်ဆိုတာပေါ်လာတဲ့အာယုံကိုမှတ်နိုင်အောင်အပူတပြင်းအားစိုက်မှုဝိရိယရှိမှအနုပဿနာဖြစ်တာဆွေးမဲ့စွာရှုမှဆွေးမဲ့စွာသိနေမှပဋ္ဌာနာဆိုတဲ့အတိုင်းပေါ်လေးတွေမှာအရှိအဟုန်နဲ့တခါလေတတိယကပ်ပြီးတော့နေမှအများကြီးရှိပါမှအနုပဿနာဖြစ်တာခဏိကသမာဓိလည်းပဲအဲ့ဒါမှနောက်ကနေလိုက်လာတော့တာပါပဲသဗ္ဗညညခေါ်တဲ့တကယ်အရှိယုံနာတရားတွေကိုမှန်ကန်စွာပြည့်စုံစွာကိုယ်တိုင်ကွယ်ကွယ်ပြားခြားခြားနာထူးထူးရှားရှားရှေ့ပိုင်းကသိနှင့်မှအဲ့ဒီအနုပဿနာတွေဖြစ်တာများနေပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီရှေ့ပိုင်းကတတိပဋ္ဌာန်တွေဟာနောက်အသိဉာဏ်တွေဖြစ်ဖို့ရာအတွက်အနည်းဆုံးအကြောင်းဖြစ်သွားတော့တာအဲ့ဒါလို့ဆိုပါတယ်ဒီတော့အသိဉာဏ်နဲ့အစစ်ဖြစ်လို့ရှိရင်နံပါတ်1ခဏိကသမာဓိအားကောင်းလို့လည်းငယ်ပေါ်လာတဲ့အာရုံထဲမှာတခဏစိတ်ကြသွားအောင်တရားပြမလို့တော့သတိပဋ္ဌာန်နည်းနဲ့မှလို့ရှိရင်အသိဉာဏ်ဖြစ်လာတာပဲဒါပဲ
So one way of understanding the cause of knowledge arising is that samadhi, concentration, is the closest cause. But it's also said that the 4 satipatthanas are the nearest cause for knowledge to arise. And what is meant by here, the 4 kinds of satipatthana, is that every time kaya arises, every time matter arises in one's being, to observe this with steadfast observation, repeated observation, that is kayanupassana satipatthana. Every time a feeling, good or bad, arises, to observe this steadfastly, that is vedananupassana satipatthana. Every time consciousness of various forms, various types of thinking and so on arise, to observe this steadfastly with chittanupassana satipatthana. The various types of actions, processes, or dhammas that arise, to observe them when they arise. This is dhammanupassana satipatthana, the steadfast, repeated observation. Or another way to look at it is to observe the presently arising object in one's body every time, steadfastly. So, this practice of satipatthana is the cause, the preceding satipatthana, the preceding moment of steadfast observation, is the cause for the samadhi, concentration, which follows it. So this is another way of looking at the cause for samadhi. Satipatthana is none other than anupassana, repeated steadfast observation of every arising object. Only if effort is made to observe the arising object will satipatthana will anupassana occur. This is the word satipatthana indicates that this steadfastly firmly established sati, there has to be a lot of it. So this only if there is a lot of sati will anupassana occur, this repeated steadfast observation. Samadhi follows when there is sati. And then, following on samadhi, there will be knowing. One knows correctly, distinctly for oneself. One knows correctly and distinctly, completely, and by oneself. One knows correctly, completely, in a special way, by oneself. So this type of knowledge, if this is happening, then if satipatthana is occurring, then it is the cause for knowledge, this type of knowledge, to arise. So if one wants knowledge to arise, then, first of all, one has to make the momentary concentration good by observing every arising object. Or to use the method of satipatthana, to observe every arising object without any misses. So these are the ways to develop knowledge.
Kono secha tombalo ijala anu kesiya boli nyinyamhu ri soda shi bada. Lowa doda moha ri. Janjana phit la lo shi thai yain sain ne. Siat the ma phit ne lo shi sit yain la ba. Myo ma kaung the lo shi yain myo ri shi ni the do chain ma ba li ma thai nai lo shi yain ni le po nai na ba. Di do acha ala anu di lo yain tat de kin na thai ye chi ba da. Era yin che mu kho da ba. Pali lo ro sasana lo kho ba da. Eri sasana sampatti po le. Eri yin che mu piet song chin ha de. Ba ma ma lop de puggol ri ya do sasana sampatti ma phit bu. Sasana vipatti be phit da ba. Yin che mu ri piet si ni da.အခုလိုတရားထုတ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကတော့အထုတ်နိုင်တယ်လို့သာသနာစံပတ်တိဆိုတာရည်ကြည်မှုတွေပြည့်စုံလာတာပဲသီလတွေထိန်းနိုင်တော့ကိုယ်မှုလုပ်မှုတွေကြောက်စရာကြဲစရာတွေခင်းတဲ့တန်ရှင်းရည်ကြည်တဲ့အေးချမ်းတဲ့အမကလေးတွေကောင်းလို့ရှိရင်စိတ်ထဲမှာတော့မှညဉ့်ညမ်းတဲ့စိတ်ကူးတွေစိတ်တွေမပေါ်ဘူးစိတ်တွေရည်ကြည်တဲ့အဲ့ဒါသာသနာပဲအတိညာဏ်ကြီးဖြစ်သွားတဲ့အခါမှာမျိုးပါပြတ်သွားတယ်။ပိုင်နေစွာရှုပြီးတဲ့အောင်မှာပြန်စဉ်းစားလို့ရှိရင်ကိလေသာမဖြစ်ဘူးအတိညာဏ်နေတာပဲ။ဒါတွေငါအတိလိုက်ပါလားပြန်စဉ်းစားလို့ရှိရင်အတိညာဏ်မဖြစ်တာပဲ။ဘယ်လောက်ပဲလှပတဲ့အာယုံပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ဘယ်လောက်ပဲမုန်းစရာအာယုံပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ချင်းလည်းငင်းမှလို့တည်သွားပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အကြောင်းနဲ့အကျိုးစက်ပုံလေးတွေမမြဲပုံလေးတည်သွားပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကိလေသာမျိုးမကြတော့ဘူးကိလေသာမျိုးပြတ်သွားတယ်အဲ့ဒီအကျဉ်းအလလို့ကိလေသာတွေမျိုးပြတ်အောင်ဒီလက်သမားကြီးပြင်ရအကျင့်တရားတွေကျင့်လို့ရှိရင်သာသနာစံပတ်တိဆိုတာပါဒီကျေးမှုတွေပြည့်စုံလာတာပါပဲအဲ့ဒီရင်ကျေးမှုပြည့်စုံမှုဆိုတာအကြောင်းမဲ့မဟုတ်ဘူးအကြောင်းနဲ့ပဲပထမအကြောင်းကတော့သာဓုကံသဝနာတဲ့ယဉ်ကျေးမှုရလို့တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဟာယဉ်ကျေးလို့တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဟာဘယ်လိုယဉ်ကျေးအောင်လုပ်ရသလဲဆိုတာပေါ့လေရိုးကြည်ကြည်နားထောင်ရပါတယ်ပို့ဖို့နားထောင်လို့မရပါဘူးဒါငါသိပြီးသားပဲဆိုပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေအဲ့လိုအနေနဲ့လည်းနားထောင်လို့မရပါဘူးလေးလေးစားစားနားထောင်ရတဲ့သာဓုကံသဝနာလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်ဒါပထမဆုံးပဲအဲ့ဒီပထမဆုံးအင်္ဂါပြည့်စုံပြုစုံဆိုတာတော့ကိုယ့်အကိုစဉ်းစားကြည့်ရမှာပေါ့နီးတိပြီဆိုလို့ချင်းအဲ့ဒီနီးတိုင်းယူတည်တည်လောက်ရတယ်ဒီအလုပ်ရဲ့တန်ဖိုးရှိပုံနေသေးပြီးတော့မျက်နှုတ်တန်ဖိုးထားတဲ့စိတ်ရှိရမှာသာဓုကံ Manasi Kara, you did the Lily Zaza, Bore on a Shumate Saint, Quinja de owner. Biara Sumhaya. Eddie in an chair, Sessaniva, Eddie a Johnham unit, Sessaniva. Eddie a Johnham you, Mapa, Venero, Mimi Tanama, Jinjehu, Yana. The word Piacini, Jinjehu, Piacida, Tapita, Vedama. The Luyalu Pilla is a Luci, Luigi Jimu, Shiam, Chigasa Shiam, Machine Lumo. Now let a Pokore hard, Yao, Lekayama. A daily Lekayama, Lekayama have. In Jedas Bago, Tachio, Piluto, to Yale Masogaro. Go, Ejam Piluto. Unching leve ejam liani da. Go in Gavali ejam, unching Gavali ejam luta. Along gone and look very well. Either to Shiva, either go to Yogi, the Laram Cho Gavali. That he take don't die of my Go, Lupida, Ludo Setata, Ludia, Suda, Luda Lupio. Mancane in Jemu Josayama Echinga, Lue Janet Chenima Toya Tenio, Diapo Limialu, Quira Sana, Sonangera, Desali Asa Sisi says a money on Lu, what they need Sadukan Sona Sura, you did it not on la. Maya Lazara, you did it, Matata Lazara. Go up, Jamito, don't have to the girl looked to the city, Sasako, look at la Bore on a Shumate in the Quinja Tetua on body. Ah, Temane la, Tematoga Lazaro, here since I am. Since I look, she power, go with his own mother. There are Loloshi, Ludenia, Lipia. A chain machine, I was a share, no. Yoga Pilu, Simia Sadeka. See, Palio Sade. The name was a share. Don't you saw me say so? Don't you saw? See, Mamma Sabu, see, Tainta, level me, you was a share, no. Era say, Swantati, Mapiaro. Tasale Bamam Turo. Era was only Poidu Paliaro. Yapia Roga look over there. Yapia Roga. Yapia Yoga Soragaro. Mapion Yoga, Nara Shi Fitter. Eri Nara Shi Yoga Shita Bogo. Yapia Rogi look over there. Eri Nara Shi same at Wis Ravoli, I look it on over there. Kusianeku, save Mamasa, Pop Cello, Pamam too. No set young Piogo, no save group young Piausa, Bamam too. Nara Shi Fitter. Yogi lady time. Chujara de Didijam Sabu, Malabu Luciano. Sego. Do Daidane do Mama Masara, a chain Mama Masara and a Duruwe Yapia Yogi Narachi Yogi Pidoyo Narachi has Sepito Atudole, Bama Matua Pita Pare, the Kalale Dilu, the Kalale Dilu Pita Paredama Erogogo Narachi Yogi, a chimia Saini the last Ravoli Jantonta for Luvare. Pianto go chinico, tiro no. Sego, Mamma Yamiro, Salu, a young night did as or a cheno. Era a chemi lolo cheno, a jura cinema.
There are despicable physical, verbal, and mental behaviors within our being, despicable or gross and disgusting. On a gross level, on a medium level, and on a subtle level. On a gross level, when greed, hatred, and delusion occur, on a gross level, they are very coarse. And when these qualities occur in the mind, also, they are coarse, they're wild. And on a refined level, when one can't control the mind, and these rise up, too, they are gross and disgusting. So it is very important to eliminate the gross, medium, and refined behaviors, which are disgusting. It's very important to be what could be called cultured or civilized. And in Pali, this is called sasana sampatti, to fulfill the teachings and become civilized. So one can't, if one doesn't do anything at all, then there won't be this fulfillment of the sasana, of becoming civilized. Instead, you'll have a breaking down of this, the sasana vipatti. Instead of development, there will be dissolution. So to the extent that one practices, one develops culture and civilization in oneself, because one can keep sila, one can contain one's physical and verbal behavior so that they are free of fault, free of blame. And when the noting is good, then the defiled mind doesn't arise at all. These defilements can't enter the mind. So this cultivated mind or civilized mind is called sasana. And when knowledge arises, the very seeds of this disgusting behavior of lobha, dosa, and moha, these are destroyed. And when knowledge arises, and then later on one remembers the object, only knowledge arises. For example, no matter how beautiful the object, there won't be any greed that arises when one has noted it with knowledge. No matter how despicable the object is, one won't ever again see it in the wrong way. If one notes it as soon as it arises, one will know how it is not permanent, how it is suffering, and how it is an empty process. And at that moment, all three levels of kilesas will be eliminated, these defilements. So, for us to remove the gross, medium, and refined levels of defilement and to become truly civilized, the first cause is sadhukang savana, to listen with respect. If one wants to be civilized and cultured, then one has to listen respectfully. It's not right to just listen thinking, I know this already. So this is not respectful listening. So one has to consider for oneself if this factor is complete or not. And then, having listened respectfully, if one knows the method, one has to actually apply it with respect and care, sadhukang manasikara. So one has to always try to observe the arising object so that the mind meets it exactly, so that the mind has the object in focus. If these first first two factors, 1 and 2, sadhukang savana, respectful listening, and sadhukang manasikara, respectful application of the practice. If these two are not there, then nothing will happen as far as developing the civilization within oneself. Nothing will happen. Instead, however one was initially, it'll be unchanged. If one is a human being, one should be cultured and civilized. So if one understands this, then one should accept what is being said. It's good to become civilized. To become civilized with the practice means that one learns how to control oneself, to refrain from doing wrong so that one also isn't harmed and one's environment is not harmed at all. When we do this, we make our own individual world peaceful, and we make the world around us peaceful also. For some yogis, it's been more than a month, and they should think about this. They should, this practice is for becoming civilized, for becoming a true human being with a humane mentality and with special human knowledge. And so one has to think, this is a practice which is worth doing. And this means that all one's waking hours, one needs to try to observe the arising object so that the mind, with aim and effort, so that the mind is in focus and can see. So one should ask oneself, have you listened respectfully to the instructions? Are you applying them so that the mind can meet applying the instructions so that one observes the object with full effort and the mind meets the object and has it in focus? So you yourself know best your own situation. And if you examine yourself according to what is just being said, and you find that there's something missing, then fill it up. That's all. So it's like when a person is sick, there's a way they get prescribed medicine, and it may be prescribed that you should take the medicine, for example, 3 times a day for 10 days or something like that. So you take the medicine, and if one doesn't take the medicine according to the way it's instructed to take, then the medicine won't have benefit. And when people take medicine but don't follow the instructions for using the medicine isn't beneficial, and the disease doesn't get cured. So people think they need another type of medicine, and they try another. And again, another. And in Pali, one with a disease is called rogi. So someone can become an incurable rogi if they don't take the medicine as prescribed for their disease. And that means, although they take medicine, because they don't take it properly, there's no cure for the disease. And for yogis, it's like this as it is with sick people. If the yogis don't apply the instructions, then they can be incurable as a yogi. So think about it as far as you are concerned. Think about your condition and consider whether you are chronic or not. And if you are chronic, then take the medicine as instructed, and there is still time to cure yourself.
The yogi yogi pukuriero Mimiro ma puasasiga palare Lobadota moha Muri Jamboli Pitia Jambola Lucia Lobari Site Pillar Dotari Pillar Lobadota Pitero Moha Bani Matimuara Permaro Yin Libo Not a Changa, not a Chulone by the Yoda. The adults are Erayuk Kuta Nina Kura Danyanaria Pipi Solution. Repeated Danyaha Nagoga Purijo, Tomo Kamten Lupera. Nota Pomuya Oboli Kawaya me. When I look at Eddie Pogo, Kuta Huna Shimpia, Eddie the one yoga. Tina Pietalumia, Pietaluci, Pogo Bido, Nayimido, they let in another. Hello, the water video body, and Nayoga Kudeka. Pomuya during Kawamu. When I have Pogo of Yamia the Carego. Simply at Dhamma, I did the Lord. Second time, I see at the yoga. Siawan Hijara, I did each other, Lina name of the yoga. A Buddha was Siawnia, paid at a time, Lolo chain. Was as a parlor, the yoga, Pyokin on a yoga Pibuda Pokuri, Caesar Kava, Peru Sada Layers or a body. Shipale Usaya Mesoraboli. No time here on level during Kawaya Mesoraboli. Yoga Pisi that a Jaunesu, Machia also lower Mesora. Nalia Bade. Sipain Sayamala di Daima.
Yogis who really work respectfully and meticulously, they're working to eliminate the lobha, dosa, and moha that have been present, following them throughout lifetimes. When there's a cause, then greed arises, lobha arises. When there's a cause for it to happen, then there's anger or dosa. And every time lobha or dosa occurs, there will always be moha, delusion. These defilements first flow in a gentle stream, and then they flow with force, and then transgressions occur. This Dhamma is for cutting them off. So, an analogy is that when one has a wound or a cut, because it's open, then bacteria can come in. So you have to protect it first so that bacteria won't enter. And if there have been any bacteria that have gotten in, then one has to eliminate them. And if one doesn't eliminate bacteria that have gotten into one's bloodstream, then one can die. And it's similar like this with practice. One has to do prevention. There has to be protection so that the bacteria doesn't enter. And then one also has to work to, if there has been a bacteria that has gotten in, then one has to clean it, eliminate it. And in terms of medicine, that's a wound has to be treated in that way too, that one does this as the doctor instructs, So keeps the wound covered so that, in some cases, covered so that it doesn't get infected. And if infection develops, one has to take a medicine to eliminate that. So for yogis, yogis can eliminate the disease of the defilements if they take the medicine that the doctor, the Buddha, prescribed. So this medicine has to be taken so that it circulates throughout one's body. It has to circulate well throughout the body so that no bacteria, that means that as it circulates through the body, any bacteria that were remaining in one's system are getting eliminated by having the medicine circulate throughout one's body. And as it is for physical things, it is also the same for the mind.
Dimala Adute Yogi Dega the true yogi is a location. The La Atuda Roma, Bahama, the Mari people, young people, lady, Jajana, Letwin, Ponsa Video, John Hajapidia, the Chuba. Chronic yogi Pitovabi. Chronic Sikulum, Yahu, the 11th. Any yogi, I live at the Atote, the Alamiao, the Adulamiao, do the Atoni of the Below Siari Pyong Ni Pyong Atobi Melo Atoni Mapiono She, no chronic, the Piedina. The Dika Yoma, chronic yogi, Pimaka Musure, Mama Nane Woni, Josa Atopuya, living in the Tatumba. They don't let the teacher look at Yogi Pokuriaro. Sayadaw Diga Savali. The Pia people who do the Pilara. Nanayo Quavia Tilara, Nanayo John Jody says of the Tilara. John Jose Yona Diari, Povito Piopo, China lady, Miaza Pulara, Wether Lady Salara. Sepiro you did say as a Atude Kajaro, home did say a goobing Pibiro, goobing Pietore, Uria Biangamelo, Yola Bisolution, a layout, Pidido, Pasadido, Suka, travel. The only do it like a thing, young lady, a tetes or pure, Pididi Pillow, Pidis or pure, a lower, a yellow piano. If it is a general, Pulonam Shiu, Asian as a logi and Chandra of Niela. They don't let that I'm a pillar of it. Erica Jalochi, Yogi, pure Dovi. Bimanka, Haria, Julia Loli Polaro, the Rolichi Nadwavi. Did I say video Atude Kama? Piti Sukha Saravali. Italy, the Fee may be to live at Arne Dwarabe. Pura Mulem Hoto. Ijana Chanda Mulem Hoto. Italy Kendo, the Maria Pu, Agona. Pore Ayobama, Secretary, Sexy, Shane. We had to do the Maria, Shayani, Tekanakana, Sexy Jador, Erika Jaro, Yellow, Piti, Tugari, Pibido, Tetejo Mahoto, Pemia, the volley, the Upekkha covered the Pemia, the Marine Upekkha, the Inganabane, Piezone. He did the Uria Bianya and a Pilla Vedama. Era Tine, Piogenaro, Conata Maria, Piobi, Upekkha, Piogenava. Upekkha, Sali, Po, so who she has a guy, Pioniera.
among the yogis who have come here to practice, there are some who have been here for some time, but they are not able to say anything at all about about the way in which concentration arises, about the way in which knowledge arises. They can't report about this type of thing time and again. And these yogis have become chronic. They're not going to die, but they also can't get cured. Their illness is chronic. And that means that, yes, they're practicing, but they're not going anywhere. And they're not going to realize the Dhamma at going along in that way. So no matter if you change the teacher, no matter if you change the method, it's not going to make any difference. The yogi is still going to be chronic. So Sayadawgyi urges you to have some pride and do not let yourself be chronic. So for yogis who are practicing respectfully, they are developing a purity of mind, citta visuddhi. And through that, there is the knowledge of nama and rupa, mind and matter, and one comes to know how these are related as cause and effect. And further, one comes to know how they are not permanent, how they arise and pass away. And with this, vipassana knowledge starts to arise. It begins. And when one continues to practice, then one sees how very, very quickly these mind and matter, related as cause and effect, arise and pass away very, very quickly. The old always being replaced by the new time and again. And at this stage, one sees lights, there's light, one feels piti, joy. There's no boredom as before in the practice. There's joyous interest, rapture. And there's passaddhi, tranquility, is very peaceful and cool. And then sukha, one feels happy, one feels good. So with all these qualities, the yogi is satisfied, feels happy and satisfied with the practice. And as one continues to practice, piti and sukha, this joyous interest or rapture, and sukha, happiness, these gradually fade until they become very weak. And there's no joy the way there was before. There's no happiness. And because the joy and happiness have faded, then the samadhi becomes stronger. And when the qualities of virya, sati, and samadhi, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, have momentum, so that the mind falls very collectedly on the object, then there's no partiality in the mind. The mind doesn't get pulled one way or the other by likes and dislikes. So the mind has this quality of equanimity, impartiality. And at this time, there are the two factors of the mature state of udyabbiya jnana, seeing the fast arising and passing away at a mature level. And these two factors are samadhi and upekkha, concentration and equanimity. And this is what Sayadaw has intended to speak about tonight, but he had some other things to say first.
လူသောဥရိယပြညာပိုင်းမှာပီတိနဲ့သုခကသူကပျော်တယ်အေးချမ်းတယ်ဆိုတော့သူကလှုပ်ရွတဲ့သဘောသူကရှိပါတယ်ကောင်းတော့ကောင်းပါတယ်လှုပ်ရွလေးနဲ့ကောင်းတာပီတိပဿတိမပါပဲပီတိသုခမပါပဲနဲ့ပ Bemyaswa, Chite, Chanda from Yusra, Heraga Pugone. Dino Riabia Yamayola Lucia. Kuna Soto Bema Pyoga, Pitina Sukari, Nia Mavoli, the Maria Reve, Pyota, Pu Agonaro. Bemyaswa shoot the board. Upekkha, Tatra Misatu Upekkha cover. Tatra Toto Potamia Ayumbonai. Misatu Upekkha, Alela, the washi, Alela, shoot at the board. Chani, who will them life, who dwell them life. Kaune Beleve, Upakamanas or a body. Capito Tini, let me see you. Kaune it with a car. A soul at Kamale, a Pakamana, Hindamaluji Muso Leve, paid at William Hobu. Pshawni. The Niabja Leve, could say on a 2 years of Lucia. A new rodas or Leliore. Leliores were go a Chinese or Leliorable. Kumjadi and a Lucia Sanyana. That we order cover. Anurora, Wirora, Anurora, Bebe Mamlato, Charima, Bemianira, Songone, Mien, Tatare, Minagong, Tatare, Leo, Minia, Twani Bisoroche, Lemonduha, they don't get Talipa, they don't get Taliria, Savio Pietro Ravatama. Upekkha look over it.
At the immature stage of Uddiyabhya Jnana, the early stage of seeing the fast arising and passing away, there are the qualities of piti, joyous interest or rapture, and sukha, happiness. And these are good, but they're a bit active, they're a bit unsettling. And when these two factors drop out, piti and sukha, when they are no longer present, the peacefulness is much better. It's more stable. So at the mature stage of Uddiyabhya Jnana, seeing the fast arising and passing away of phenomena, without the joy and without the happiness, there's the quality of upekkha, which is also called tatra mijatata. And that means, tatra means whatever object arises. And mijatata means the state of being impartial. So this quality of upekkha, it doesn't latch on to things that that the mind likes. It doesn't follow the likes, which is called upagamana. And it doesn't push away the things that it doesn't like. Without upekkha, then the mind tends to go for things that it likes. This is anurodha. And when there are dislikes, it tends to oppose them. This is virodha. So at this stage, the mind doesn't go either way. It stays exactly in the middle and doesn't go to it's impartial. And what it's like is driving a chariot or a carriage with a team of two well-matched horses. And this is the start of upekkha, equanimity.
Ardently solution. Puribian Asayada lady, Muteta. The lady Malo on 3 tara Muteta. A tete boy, I want security Susu beer or limited. The Lota Loha committed Tashina and look best of Vito body. Nale on lower than limited. Nale to officer young cheater. ယုံကြည်ပြီးတော့ဒီတန်ရှင်းမှုလေးတွေကိုလိုလားတဲ့ဆန္ဒလေးတွေရှိပြီးတော့လုပ်ငန်းခင်ဝင်တဲ့အခါမှာတော့အစပိုင်းတော့ဘုရားပြင်းအားဆက်ရတာလေးတွေတတိဖြစ်အောင်သမာဓိဖြစ်အောင်ကြိုးစားရတာတွေုံသက်တာကိုနောက်တော့အလေးကျင့်နည်းနည်းရစပြုလာတယ်လုပ်ငန်းကျွမ်းကျင်တော့ဒီလုပ်ငန်းပေါ်မှာပေါ့လေတက်တာမှုမတက်တာရဲ့မှုတွေလည်းပဲညော့ပါပြီးတော့တက်တော့တက်တာလေးပြင်းပြောလာတယ်လို့ရတော့လည်းပဲအောင်မြင်မှုတွေလည်းရှိတယ်ဆိုတော့ပြောလာတယ်အေးချမ်းမှုတွေလည်းရှိလာတာပဲဓမ္မနောက်ဆက်လုပ်ပါများလို့ရှိရင်ဒီလုပ်ငန်းနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေဘာမှမကြောက်ကြတော့ဒီငြိမ်ငြိမ်လည်းပိုကောင်းလာတယ်လုပ်ငန်းဒါရှဲလာတာကိုလုပ်ငန်းလေးကျွမ်းကျင်တယ်လို့တည်ငြိမ်လာတယ်တည်ငြိမ်တယ်လို့အရင်ကလို့ဒီအလုပ်စကားစားလို့အထူးကြောင်းကြကြီးလည်းမရှိရတော့ဘူးကြောင်းကြမပါတာလည်းမရှိဘူးကြောင်းကြတော့အရှိန်နဲ့ပါနေတယ်တိတ်ကိုသက်သာလာတာပဲလုပ်ငန်းနာပဲအဲ့ဒီသဘောမျိုးပါပဲအခုတရားလုပ်ငန်းမှာလည်းဒီတိုင်းပါပဲစောစောပိုင်းကတော့တော်တော်လေးကြိုးစားရတယ်မကြိုးစားပဲနဲ့တော့ဒီလိုအဆင့်ရောက်ဖို့ကတော့သိမလွယ်ပါဘူးအဲ့ဒီအဆင့်ရောက်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ယောဂီဟာရှေ့ဖြစ်ပေါ်မဲ့ဉာဏ်တွေလည်းပဲဖြူဖြောင်းသွားပြီဒီမှာဒီဘဝမှာတရားဓုရောက်ဖို့ရန်အတွက်လည်းပဲအင်္ဂါ၅ပါးနဲ့စုံသွားပြီတရားတရားတွေလည်းဖြစ်လာပြီဒီမှာဟုတ်ပါလားတဲ့ဟုတ်ပါလားဒီလမ်းတဲ့မှန်တာပဲဒီလမ်းစဉ်တဲ့အထုတ်တဲ့အတွက်မိမိမှာဒီလိုအခြေအနေတွေဖြစ်လာတယ်ဆိုတော့လုပ်ငန်းစဉ်ပေါ်မှာရောအထုတ်လို့ရရှိတဲ့အကျိုးရလဒ်ပေါ်မှာရောယုံလာတယ်ဒီလိုအမှန်တရားမျိုးကိုအမှန်သိတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဟာသာကြွကြားနိုင်တာဆိုတော့ဗောလေတရားသဘောလုံကြီးလှုပ်ဟန်တဲ့အကျိုးရလဒ်တွေ့လာတဲ့အခါကျတော့ဗုဒ္ဓလည်းကြည်ညိုစပြုလာတယ်ဒီတရားတော်အတိုင်းကျင့်သုံးတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဒီလိုရှိကြပါပဲဆိုတော့ဗောလေဒီလိုလည်းပဲယုံကြည်လာတယ်လုပ်ငန်းစဉ်နဲ့ကြာကြာနာအထုတ်ခြင်းကြောင့်ရရှိတဲ့အကျိုးတွေမြင်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တရားမြင်တော့ဒီတရားမှကိုဖို့ထုတ်တော်မူတဲ့မြတ်စွာဘုရားလည်းမြင်စပြုလာပြီတဲ့
At the start of the practice, one has to apply effort, and there's no relief from having to apply effort. One always has to make concerted effort, and every newly arising object is the same. One has to keep on applying one's effort to observe. So there's no relief from this. And then, so one has to understand the method, understand the benefits of the practice, and understanding that faith arises. And because of faith, that these benefits can be gained, then one wants to gain them, and this is chanda, or zeal. And due to this, one begins the practice. And so one has to apply effort in order to develop sati and develop samadhi. And then one gains some skill and is able to observe comfortably, and one feels happy and peaceful because one's work is succeeding. And at that time then, as one continues, one has no worries. One's situation is stable and peaceful. So one has developed skill, and because that skill has momentum, one doesn't need to apply any special effort. One is able to work without this concerted effort, and the situation is stable. So the Dhamma practice is like this. At the start, one has to try. One has to really try, because otherwise it won't be easy to gain any type of results. But if one tries, then one comes to this situation where the 5 factors of one who can gain the special Dhamma in this very life, these factors become fulfilled. And the first of these is faith. At this time, one knows this is the right way, this path is the right way. So one has faith in the path and the results because one has put it into practice and one has seen the benefits that come. So because of this, having applied the practice and seeing the results that come, one has trust in the Buddha who revealed this method, who taught it. So this is the beginning of becoming to see the Buddha. Because one sees the Dhamma, one sees the Buddha.
Yamanega Buddha Dhamma Thongka Songlo Tudvi Thirakara Buddha Dhamma Thongka Songlo Suwabi Melu Asin Seka Kapobo Nelaro Dujimi Varia Go Midazurema Kaleri Pietonaya Buddha Sarangi Sami Dhammandarangi Sami Tangandarangi Sami Sobire Buddha Sura Bamanyamamdi, Dhamma Bamanyamamdi Tangazurale Wawa Wood Bogo Tangaluva Lutena Bounty Yanatoma go Yimati Veneboli Mai Kanga Yanchi Yura Era Muta Patana Korea Adinya Mapavene Chinura Sagayana Pioma Sorochi, Mai Kanga Yanchi Yura Diametro Tetelo, and Memekanga Yanchi Yumuna Pidor Yanchi Yutu Pienevoli. Diametro Gulu, the other holiday to Laviso, to the Bien, Yekle Pia. A good Shiviro, good Pietora body, cut to the team in Laviso. Dia Swai dealer, or Dia Dilugos or a body dealer. Edema, Muda Patana, Nevido, Atinya Li Bola Dadama, Oisa Patara, Oisa Patana, Nyan Pit, the way you Gila. That looks so at Edema. Now the Toto Atinya Li, Pifi Dolochi, Atinya Li to the law, no Boyan, wholly Malay, Saravali, at the Oisa Patara, the PB Miala Taparetuaro. And also, Nina Nipan do it always Luci, Eddie Usa Pataraha, came near and it had the Yotara Vedama. The theatre desert, Tamioja, Mai Kanga, Yeranadomago, Yungide and it had Nevido, a dinya lady, Point Nambiro body, go by dinya and Lekan Yungide. Buddha Tadana was Sissy Pia Lota Zuravoli Nalebu Abe. The Pajama Edari Sepio Martinido, Daveto Yaozo.
Second one. So, although it is said that Myanmar, this country, is the one in the world which is in which the teaching of Theravada Buddhism is very prominent, far more than in other countries. But people take it very lightly here. And parents teach their children, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. They teach their children to recite this, but they have no idea what Buddha means or Dhamma. They think Sangha are just men who walk around in robes. And so they have a very, they have faith, but they don't have any type of informed faith. It's called Muda Pasana. It's belief that is blind faith or belief without knowledge. And when people don't practice, this is all that people have. This is the only type of faith that exists. But when one does the practice and comes to see the nature of the Dhamma, especially when one sees the fleeting arising and passing away of phenomena, how things arise and then pass away very quickly, the old always being replaced by the new time and again, then one knows the power of the Dhamma, and what occurs then is faith with knowledge, informed faith. And as one's knowledge progresses, then one's faith also multiplies. It becomes stronger and stronger. And when one sees Nibbana, then this faith, this informed faith, becomes firm, unshakable. So in this way, going from uninformed faith to a faith that is informed with knowledge as one develops knowledge, to finally fully developing the teachings of the Buddha within oneself. This is what is done in the practice, and this is what Sayadawgyi would like to continue speaking about tomorrow. That's all for today.